Black and gold fans, college football fans, welcome back for another episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. This is my episode. This is my very special instant reaction and recap to Iowa's home loss to number 4 Michigan, 27-14. Now, this game did go final a few hours ago, but my apologies. After the game concluded, I had a couple quick errands I had to run, and then the family and we went to church, so here I am, but I'm still calling it a instant reaction episode. But yeah, number 4 Michigan comes in, takes care of business against our Iowa Hawkeyes, and all week we've heard about the so-called mystique of Kinnick Stadium, where Jim Harbaugh, in his own words, said how the place where top 5 teams go to die. Unfortunately, that did not come to fruition today. With the victory, number 4 Michigan improves to 5-0 overall, 2-0 in Big Ten Conference play, and our Hawkeyes fall to 3-2 overall and 1-1 in Big Ten Conference play. My initial thoughts on this game, once again a loss by Iowa, 27-14. I've got to tell you, coming into this game, I wasn't quite 100% bought in on Michigan, but after watching this young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, very highly touted and recruited, former 5-star quarterback, I got to say, the dude, the young cub, really showed up and showed out. I really was very impressed with Michigan in all facets and aspects of the game, offensively, defensively, special teams. Michigan looks to be like the real deal, a legitimate championship contender in the Big Ten and playoff contender, I must say. Very balanced team. And as far as our Hawkeyes go, well, to quote the great Denny Green, in reference to the Chicago Bears after that game Monday night in the desert, well, our Hawkeyes, they are who we thought they were. I mean, defense showed up, did the best they could. They really kept the Iowa offense in the game. The offense, second half, kind of found themselves a little bit, but definitely too little too late. And the offensive struggles still really just continue to plague this Iowa Hawkeye team. Before I say any more, thank you for your time, attention, and support. The channel's doing really well. Please, if you could, like, share, subscribe, click that button, spread the word, tell your friends, all of your college football fanatic friends, your family to tune in to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Your home for all things black and gold, but for all college football fans alike. This is a safe haven. Everyone is welcome here to celebrate the greatest sport that we have in this nation. So that's where we are. Now, as far as the good and the bad, I always like to move into this next, and I always like to start with the good, okay? And for Iowa, the good was that, hey, we showed that the offense has some sort of pulse. I mean, late in the game, in the fourth quarter, down 20-0, a touchdown to open the fourth quarter. Then Iowa was able to get the ball back, forced a 3-and-out. Iowa basically then drove pretty much the length of the field on a 4th-and-2 from, I believe, the Michigan 5 or 6 yard line. They go for it, which at that time was the right call. There was under 6 minutes to go, down 2 touchdowns. You have to go for it. Unfortunately, they could not convert, and that was pretty much all she wrote for the ball game. I mean, Michigan did score after that very quickly, and Iowa scored an additional touchdown in garbage time, making it look a little bit better on the scoreboard than what it really was. But so the offense said they showed some life, but way too late. But I got to tell you, I mean, the offensive line, and I've said this, I know that quarterback Spencer Petras is under a lot of fire from fans, message boards, the media. I get it, and deservedly so. Some of that you can put on Spencer, But today, I mean, the offensive line once again did not do him any favors. Michigan, I believe they had 4 or 5 sacks. Let's see here. Michigan recorded 4 sacks and 6 tackles for a loss. They pretty much lived in the Iowa backfield. I mean, pretty much the entire second half. I mean, and it's really compounded that when you have a very aggressive defense like Michigan is, you know, just sending the dogs, pinning their ears back, teeing off on the quarterback, it's really even worse because, A, you have that speed, an offensive line that really has struggled to find some consistency this year, and really all of last year as well. But you have a very aggressive, talented, quick defense that's coming after the quarterback, and then you add in there a quarterback that is basically, you know, a statue. I mean, resembles the Statue of Liberty at times. Zero mobility, has no real chance to get away or avoid any rush. It's going to end up being compounded and end up being twice as worse, and that's what we had. I mean, when Spencer Petras is in trouble, he just continues to not be able to avoid it. And I get it. And I will say this, that yes, his lack of mobility is not really all on him. He is who he is. You can't teach that. And when Iowa recruited him and basically gave him the keys to the Cadillac, they knew that. They knew that that was going to be an area where Spencer was going to struggle. So it's not like that's a big surprise, okay? But I will say this, that sometimes Spencer just happens to hold on to the ball a little bit too long. At some point, after 2 or 3 seconds, I know that may not seem like a lot of time to go through your through your steps, you know, going through your progressions as a quarterback. But 3 seconds, if you don't see anybody, you have to just throw it away when you see and feel that pass rush coming, and he continues to not do that. But the offensive line is not doing him any favors, and they're not. And I've said this from day one. My very first instant reaction and recap episode following the 7-3 victory over South Dakota State, that as the Iowa offensive line goes, so goes Iowa. And that's what we're seeing. I don't care who's back there, whether it's Spencer Petras or Alex Padilla or even Joey Labus. If they can't be protected, it's not going to matter. It's just not. All right? So the offensive line continues to really struggle with pass protection. They just do. The rushing game today, I mean, the stats really aren't accurate. They don't really tell all. When I look here on the Iowa rushing stats, as a team, 35 yards total rushing, but that is skewed by those sacks. When you add in the lost yardage for sacks, Spencer Petras lost 31 yards. So you basically can add that back, and we're looking at near 70 yards rushing, which isn't great, but it's definitely better than what the 35 shows in the stat sheet, okay? And I tell you, Caleb Johnson, this true freshman that we've got, folks, he is a star in the making. I love what I see out of him. And today he definitely got a little bit more carries. He's starting to kind of get to be the feature back. And I definitely think after the off week, which we got Illinois next week, and more on that here in a little bit as far as the outlook in the Big Ten West. But we have Illinois next week, then we have a bye week, and then we travel to Columbus to the Shoe to take on mighty Ohio State. I think by the Ohio State game or the game after that, I think Caleb Johnson will be the starting running back. Now, has he shown to me that he gives Iowa the best chance for big play potential out of the backfield? Yes, but I'm always a little bit skeptical and a little bit concerned about giving the keys to a true freshman, because yet he still is getting used to the transition of the speed of the game and just the abuse you're going to be taking on your body. I mean, this is next level compared to high school. I'm always a little bit skeptical when you give a true freshman the majority of the carries, when he's the guy who's toting the rock, okay? Because eventually they're going to wear down physically, which then means that they're going to be careless and they're going to put the ball on the ground, or they're going to miss a big-time blitz pickup. Something is going to go awry. That's why I'm a little bit concerned, but I definitely think he is their best running back. And today he got a lot more carries. He got 12 carries for 32 yards, just under 3 yards per carry, which isn't bad, and he did get into the end zone for a touchdown today. LaShawn Williams, 8 carries for 34 yards for 4.3 yards per carry, not bad. He seems to really be the power runner for Iowa, when Caleb Johnson's more of the shifty, quick speed burst, very Tyler Goodson-like. But LaShawn Williams is kind of like the wrecking ball, like Miley Cyrus. And Gavin Williams, who was the week 1 starter on the depth chart, continues to lose reps at the running back position. I think that's just going to work itself out. But I think LaShawn Williams and Caleb Johnson should be the 1 and 2 in the Iowa backfield. Overall, Spencer Petrus's numbers, I mean, he was 21 of 31, which is good for 68% completion percentage. So that's definitely trending in the right direction. It was improved last week at Rutgers. This week it has gotten better, and it was better. So 68% completion percentage for 246 yards passing, his most this season. 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. And overall, a very clean game as far as turnovers go. There were 0 turnovers in this game. Neither Iowa or Michigan turned the ball over. I mean, there was a turnover and downs by Iowa, I believe, twice. So in the stat sheet, that goes down as a turnover, but it's not really in my eyes. It's just not a legitimate turnover. So well done for both teams with that. Really sloppy play, though. I mean, it really came down to who was going to be the cleanest. And Iowa had a lot of crucial penalties when they were on offense, especially. A lot of penalties, and even some of them that were a little bit iffy. I'm never going to say that I totally disagree or that was a botched call by referees. My dad was a umpire for the better part of almost 4 decades. So I'm always the one who believes that referees, umpires, officials, they get it right 98% of the time. And they do, okay? But there were a couple of calls that were a little bit questionable, to putting it lightly. But that's a part of the game. I mean, that unfortunately it happens. But what I don't like about that, I'm glad I remembered to say this, that Coach Ferentz, I get it. When you perceive that there's been a bad call on the field by the officiating crew, and I'm talking about the clip/tripping penalty that happened when Iowa was their first really good-looking drive, when they got to midfield basically in the second half, and these back-to-back penalties, and this one that was a clip/chop block. Whatever, and I get it. Coach Kirk Ferentz, like any coach, you're going to work the officials. That's your job, okay? To call them over, ask for an explanation, give them a little bit of an earful, bark a little bit, but don't call timeout. That's not something that they're just going to say, oops, I guess you're right, or it's not something that they can challenge or review. And he did that twice this game. Yes, on some penalties that were, like I said, questionable at best. Another one when Logan Jones, the center, basically, well behind the play, was finishing up a block, blocked his player into the ground. It looked like the Michigan player's arms were around him. So obviously it's the law of gravity. You're going to fall with somebody on top of them. I get it. I get being upset and working the officials, but he took a timeout then too. There's no need to do that. Save your timeouts. I didn't like that. It's something that just, it can't happen, period, anymore, okay? So Michigan, I give it to them. They were absolutely a lot more clean in this game. And I was really impressed, once again, with Michigan, especially the blocking on the outside. This is something that a lot of people don't notice, but I do, that a lot of times when they did some rushing plays to the outside or a couple of swings out to the flat, I mean, the thing was, it was beautiful to see how downfield their receivers, their tight ends were blocking and held their blocks, okay? And that really paid off for them. I mean, that first touchdown by Ronnie Bell was a perfect example of that, of downfield clean blocking. Defensively, I mean, Iowa, they did what they do. I mean, we're accustomed to this, that they're going to keep the offense in the game. And they are, and they did that today. But, man, the time of possession, which it actually ended up getting a little bit more even. Let me look at that here under team stats. Bear with me one sec. Time of possession ended up being Michigan 33 minutes, 44 seconds to Iowa, having it for 26 minutes and 16 seconds. But in the first half, it was just so one-sided. I think Iowa only had 3 possessions, I believe, in the entire first half. It was really a good game plan by Coach Jim Harbaugh and his staff, how to just shut the crowd up at Kinnick Stadium and how to attack Iowa. I mean, you don't want to go into Kinnick with a young quarterback making his first ever road start against the best defense he has yet to face in his career and just throw the ball all over the yard. You don't want to do that. You want to wear them down and you want to play field position. Try to beat Iowa at Iowa's own game. And that's exactly what they did. Keeping it on the ground, just body blow after body blow, rock fight. Hey, you throw a pebble at me, I'm going to throw a boulder at you. And it was a really great game plan by Coach Jim Harbaugh and his staff. It just was. I got to hand it to him. So defense, they did well. I mean, I think it was a little too late that Coach D.C. Parker, Phil Parker, just seemed like he waited too long to really dial up a little bit of blitz on young quarterback J.J. McCarthy of Michigan. It seemed like once Iowa finally found the end zone, obviously then the crowd and the team got a little more jazzed up, the adrenaline's going, blood's flowing, you're back in the game. And that's when they started to finally get to J.J. McCarthy, and it definitely did rattle him a little bit. I was thinking that Phil Parker was going to dial some of that up very early to make J.J. McCarthy feel a little more uncomfortable. That's what I would have done, but hey, I'm never going to be in that position. It's easy for me to sit here and be a chair defensive coordinator. All right, it just is. So defense played really well. I mean, just a better team. That's what I got to say. Michigan is a better team. I did pick them during this week's Pick'em episode. That I know what my mind was saying and I knew what my heart was saying, but I had to follow my mind and just take Michigan. But they are the better team. All right. I did think Iowa would cover the spread. Before kickoff, I believe it got to 11.5. And I thought they would cover when it was 9.5. So I thought it would be, a 10-point game, give or take. But that late touchdown kind of also, put that to bed. I mean, the guys in Vegas and girls in Vegas, they know what they're talking about. Let's go back here to box score here. But, yeah, I'm happy with it. It was a good effort. But if they just would have scored on that drive with 6 minutes to go, not converting the 4th and 2 inside the Michigan 10-yard line, they find the end zone there, assume they're going to make the PAT, it's 20-14, then they're going to have their chance. But obviously, I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up over the what-ifs. I'm just not. So, as far as that, I mean, I was really impressed today. I mean, with the tight end play, Luke Lachey, I think that might have been his first ever touchdown. No, at least his first touchdown this season. But Luke Lachey showed up big, 4 receptions for 84 yards. Sam Laporta, 5 receptions for 24 yards. And actually, the wide receivers got a little bit more involved today, which is what I said during last week's instant reaction and recap episode following Rutgers, is Iowa has got to find a way to get these wide receivers more involved. And today, Nico Reganey with 4 receptions. Young Brody Brecht brought in 2. Alec Wick brought in 1. So Arlen Bruce, I believe, had 2 receptions. So wide receivers did show up a little bit more today. But I think Iowa maybe just should have gone primarily just passing game right out of the locker room in the second half. When they did that in the fourth quarter, it kind of did catch Michigan a little on their heels, a little bit surprised by it. So I would have maybe switched that up earlier. That would have been my offensive play calling. But once again, I'm not to the level of doing that. It's not a job I would want. And that being said, I know a lot of people are probably still a little bit frustrated, angry, disappointed, pissed, however you want to say it, about the Iowa offense or lack thereof. But, it is what it is, folks. I mean, this is our 5th game of the year. I mean, what you see is what you're going to get. What you see is what you get. If you like, you buy. I mean, that's how it is. This team is not going to really improve much, I think, offensively. They still have a couple of big guys, potential weapons, and I say that, weapons, who are out with injury, specifically Keegan Johnson, who is their best wide receiver. But, yeah, I don't expect much improvement from the Iowa offense. Even with the quarterback change, I know a lot of you are going to want that. But obviously, Alex Padilla just may not be ready. I mean, we don't see how he's practicing during the week. All right, maybe in practice he's just awful, okay? But I think next week is going to be a big game at Illinois, because I think if we have the same result, an offense that's really just sputtering, that really can't find any consistency, I think then the decision will be made to then maybe make a quarterback change during the off week. But then again, you maybe don't want to send a guy out there for his first start of the season in Alex Padilla at Ohio State in an absolute hostile environment. So I think at least one more game, and then maybe the coaching staff might make a change. But just remember that Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator, Coach Kirk Ferentz's son, the nepotism there, he is the OC. Everybody seems to want to blame him for play calling, and that is deserved, some of that. But he's still running his father, the head coach's offense. I don't want any of you to blur those lines. If the offensive coordinator was Joe Schmo, Joe Jackson, or whatever the name could be, right? By now, there probably would have been a change made, okay? I get it. It has to be difficult to potentially reprimand your son. I get that. But ultimately, he's running what the head coach, his offense wants. Okay? Let's not mix that up. All right? But that's it. So 27-14. Well done, Michigan. Yeah, the mystique of Iowa, of Kinnick Stadium, unfortunately didn't live up to the billing. But I think if it's a night game, we never know what could happen at Kinnick Stadium. That's why I was a little bit disappointed that it was the big noon Fox game with a kickoff at 11 a.m. Central Time. Go figure. That makes a lot of sense. But where we go from here, all right, I've already said it. Big game coming up next weekend against Illinois in Champaign, and here's why. All right, folks, what has happened right now in the Big Ten Wild Wild West Division? It's exactly that, all right? After what we saw happen today, even the early games, everybody now, every single team in the division has at least one conference loss. So nobody officially has really been eliminated from it. That's right. Coming into the Saturday, Minnesota, who absolutely pummeled Michigan State last week. They hosted Purdue, in which I believe ultimately was the biggest game in the Big Ten West. I said that before the season. Whoever wins that game, I think, will come out on top because they're crossover games. Neither Purdue or Minnesota play Michigan or Ohio State this year. So I thought the winner of that was going to pretty much be not in the driver's seat, but going to be in the best position. Purdue went to Minnesota and took care of Goldie. So Minnesota now has a conference loss, and Purdue lost the opening week at home against Penn State. Illinois lost a couple weeks ago. I believe it was week 2 at Indiana, which was an awful loss. All right. Iowa, of course, now, after today's loss, there's one conference loss. Nebraska losing to Northwestern in week 0. There's their conference loss. Minnesota played Northwestern played Penn State tough on the road, but they lost today. And Illinois goes to Madison. That's right, Coach Brett Bielema, Bert, goes back to Madison, to Madtown. And not only do they defeat the Badgers, but pummel them. 34-10 is the final score. And this is not fake news. This is not me making a gaffe. Wisconsin only had 2 yards rushing. I'm not saying 2 yards per carry, 2 rushing yards total. And that is what Wisconsin does, okay? So Illinois finds themselves right now right back in it. And with that loss today, Wisconsin not only has 1, but 2 conference losses. They lost last week in embarrassing style at Ohio State. So anybody and everybody's alive in the Big Ten West. And next week's game is huge. Whoever wins that game between Illinois and Iowa next week, I think then kind of moves a further ahead on the checkerboard or the chessboard. All right, they're going to kind of then emerge as, okay, now maybe I'm in a good position moving forward. All right. Granted, after that game, like I said, Iowa has a bye week and then to Ohio State. That game doesn't really matter. It's not a division game. Okay, I mean, yeah, you'd love to pull off the upset of the year potentially, but if Iowa can just get it done next week on the road at Illinois, they're still going to be in a good position. And the same thing said for Illinois. If they can find out a way to break this streak against Iowa, they're going to be in a really good position. So there's still lots of hope. There's no need to panic yet. Iowa fans, there's not. So we fall to 3-2, 1-1 in conference play. But that's where we go from here. And Michigan, I got to tell you, folks, I'm really, really impressed with them once again. And coming into this game, I mean, the way the schedule set up for Michigan this year, prior to this year's edition of The Game between Michigan and Ohio State, Thanksgiving weekend, it was really just a 2-game schedule for Michigan. This game at Iowa, and then they host Penn State, I believe, in 2 weeks. So after seeing them today, I believe they're going to face off with their arch rival 11-0, and I think Ohio State's going to be 11-0 also. And if things around them, ahead of them, if dominoes continue to fall, if other people get losses here and there, I mean, those are potentially both going to be playoff teams. If they meet up 11-0, all right, whoever loses that matchup, I mean, the one is going to potentially get an at-large with 1 loss. So that's where Michigan goes moving forward. I believe next week they go to sleepy Bloomington, Indiana to take on the Hoosiers. So good luck with that, Indiana. But anyway, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. I'm going to hop off here now. I'm going to watch some of the Missouri game, the other black and gold. They host the number 1 team in the nation, Georgia. We'll see what they can do. Maybe they'll be a little bit of magic for one of our black and golds tonight. So until next time you see me, take care. Enjoy the rest of the day and your weekend. And look for me. My Week 5 review and recap episode should be out either Monday or Tuesday. So until then, I'll see you. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.